When I was growing up, my vision wasn't as good as it is now, and I had several friends who were entirely blind. For us, we used a device called the Braille and Speak. In fact, I still have mine. You can take a look at my video on it if you're interested. This can be thought of as a pocket computer of the 90s. Now, this was nowhere as cheap as a pocket computer. In fact, in today's money, it would cost you about as much as a high-end Macintosh. But that's not the point. The point is, it was much easier for us to use this device to enter information, take notes, keep contact information, than have to rely on big, heavy Braille writers and piles upon piles of Braille paper, especially with the Braille books. The Braille books were very heavy. So we had a PDA pretty much out of necessity, not necessarily convenience, that the sighted world has been brought into with things like Microsoft Pocket PC. Because obviously a sighted person could pull out a pen and paper, and it's not so easy for people who are blind to do that. It's certainly possible for you to become proficient with a portable writing method known as the stylus with Braille paper. But starting out, it's kind of awkward because, in a nutshell, you're writing everything backwards. So I won't get into that. But suffice it to say that we had a handheld mobile organizer before the sighted world did. And when the sighted world, this was back in the 90s when I was growing up. And when the sighted world finally got the idea and decided to have one of their own, Microsoft's Pocket PC and Palm Pilot became dominant. Now, the really cool thing about the Microsoft Pocket PC is that you could connect to the internet with it, and you can download programs with it. And we, in the community of people who are blind, had something very similar too. It was called the PackMate. In fact, this device, this little keyboard here, this device and this little handheld device run literally the exact same software. Anything that can run on this will run on this. The only difference is whether or not it will talk out of the box, because as you notice, there's no screen. You probably noticed something here that says JAWS. It uses the JAWS screen reading software to gain access to this mainstream platform. Aside from any accessibility hurdles from the developers, anything that an HP iPad can run, the PackMate can run. This, again, brings about the question of connectivity. I was talking earlier, just a second ago, about how we used things like the Braille and Speak to take notes because it was much more cumbersome for us to utilize what our equivalent of the printed word would be, which would be a Braille writer or a slate and stylus. This connectivity has brought about also ways for us to gain information. As I mentioned before, this little iPad could connect to the internet. Well, so can the PackMate through expandable peripheral cards that slide into the back of the unit. Things like Wi-Fi, Ethernet. Fast forward again, because the PackMate was introduced in 2002, and in 2009, the Apple iPhone came about, and this was the first mainstream cellular phone, smartphone actually. It was not just a phone, it's a pocket computer with the phone attached. It's got phone software, but it's really a pocket computer. And for somebody who is blind, it's become an indispensable tool. Even today, most of the people that I know who are blind utilize an iPhone. Most of the people that I know who are sighted utilize an iPhone or an Android device. The accessibility also went over to them, too. We've got Android that is accessible to both sighted and blind. We've got iPhone that is accessible to both sighted and blind. And we've even got specialty devices that run Android. Now, starting from the iPad, excuse me, I'm using magnification, the iPhone 3GS here, we've got the iPhone 3GS, we've got the Google Nexus 5, we've got the Android Braille Plus 18 device, we've got the PackMate, which again you can connect through expandable storage to the internet. And with today's world, utilizing the web has become an indispensable tool for not just people who are blind, although they actually have more necessity to do so because of the limits of traditional print to people who can't see, obviously. But they have much more, while they have much more obvious need for it, that doesn't hide the fact that sighted people too have embraced the internet. Not for people both with and without disabilities, the web has become a truly indispensable tool. You know, obviously without, if you don't have a mobile data connection from the iPhone or the Google Android devices, you can use this AT&T MiFi hotspot, Verizon MiFi. All of these devices here have mobile data radios built in so that if you're not connected to the web, you can use your cellular device connected to Wi-Fi. You can use your cellular device's network to utilize various technologies. And more stuff is being moved to the web. You've got things like Dropbox, Google Drive, Amazon's Cloud Drive, Microsoft Office 365. And it seems to me like for the upcoming generation, and even to even my own generation to an extent, I didn't grow up with the web, but it obviously has become a central part of my life. But I think, again, that's partially because I can't see very well and the web has become a major gateway to information. For everybody else, it's just plain convenient. As this grows on a new generation, what I was getting at was, as this grows on a new generation, do you think that the days of not being connected to the web are going to be as far into a new generation as the days of listening to phonographs, i.e. records, on a crankable record player are to my generation? What I'm basically getting at is, are the days of being off the grid over? I think they are. Now again, in usage cases where people like myself who we cannot see, I consider this a major plus, because for many people who are blind, the web is a gateway to information that would otherwise be off limits to us. But for everybody else, it's just convenient, and people have started to utilize web services more and more, which makes me wonder if one of these days, if it's not already here, which I think honestly it could very well be, but the days of being off the web, completely disconnected from the web, I think those days are over. But what do you guys think? Especially for upcoming generations. Thank you for watching. Comments are welcome, and have a nice day.